Okay, so we are continuing on our lesson, which is, this is still 5.1, our systems. We did part 1 and part 2 in the first video, and I just wanted to make this one a separate video so we could talk about what this looks like when we have a system in terms of graphing, because you'll see some story problems here. So we're going to look at this and read the story problem. It says, I can graph a linear system to find a solution to a real world problem. So that's our last part of the targets. So example is, again, two systems means we're going to have two separate things. So we need to be able to write the equations in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. And then we know we're going to have two equations, y equals mx plus b, because it's a system. So there'll always be two things compared. So it says, Bowl-O-Rama charges $3 per game. Remember, we've talked about keywords for slope, and the per tells us that that's our m. So y equals 3x plus the $2 for the shoe rental. That is our one-time fee, so that's our B. And then it says bowling pins charges $2 per game. So again, we know from our notes previously, y equals 2x, because the per tells us that that's our m. And then the x always goes next to it, plus $4 for the shoe rental. Again, that'd be a one-time fee for your shoes. So we have our system. I'll try to draw that little thing. There's our system. We wrote both of those from a story problem. Now it says, for how many games will the cost to bowl be the same? So what we're going to do is we are going to graph these equations, and then we're going to answer these questions. So remember, how do we graph in slope-intercept form? We put our first point on the B. So that would be 0, 2. So I go over 0 and up 2. This is for my Bowl-O-Rama. And then I use my slope to rise over run. My slope for the first one is 3, so I'm going to make it 3 over 1. I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Up 3 and over 1. That is going to be my first linear equation. I just graphed it. Now for my second one, this is bowling pins. Again, I'm using the same thing. I'm graphing in slope-intercept form. My first point goes on the B, which is 0, and then whatever is in that, y equals mx plus b, whatever's in that position. So 0, 4, that's my first point. And then I'm going to use my slope to rise over run. My slope for this one is 2, so we make it 2 over 1. So I'm going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So if we look at, I'm going to draw my line in, for how many games will the cost be the same? This is asking for your solution. Where do the lines meet? So when I graph them, I can see right away they meet at 2, 8. So 2, 8. And now remember, 2 is our x and 8 is our y. And so what is the cost? This is where we can just look at the graph. At the solution point, we know x is our game, y is our cost. At this point right here, that's our solution. What is the cost? And you just read the graph. So I'm going to follow money's actually over here on the y-axis. So what's my cost? $8. That was the question. This is the y is talking about money because that's what the y says over here. And the x is talking about the number of games, which is right here. That's games. So that's how I got the cost. So that's how you would do a story problem. It's very similar, except for you have to write the equations. We know they have to be in slope-intercept form, that y equals mx plus b, so that's where it's good to have our keywords note sheet out, or maybe you've memorized them. And then we just graph them and look at where they meet, and then just make sure to read the question carefully. If it would have said, if I put D in here and I said, how many games for $8. Again, that has to do with our solution point, but we know they meet and they cross at $8. So how many games would that be that they're the same cost? We would look at, again, our ordered pair. If it's 2, 8, right? So it's 2. 2 games, you'd be paying the same amount of money. And that is part 3 of our learning target. So setting up the story problems and graphing them, and then again, just interpreting the graph, answering some questions about it. So that is 5.1. This is just the second video that goes with it.